The Most Dangerous Spy, written by Sharon Edwards, narrated by Colette Redgrave. The Mysterious Box, October 1940. Nancy Brown was not born to be a secret radio interceptor during the Second World War. In fact, the war had not even started when she was born, in 1929. It started 10 years later. She remembers the day. It was a Sunday in September. She had been at church with her family when, after the service, she noticed the grown-ups whispering to each other. Suddenly, Mother appeared in front of her, her face looking pained. She took Nancy's hand and swept her outside. Only when they were halfway home did she stoop down and whisper 4 words into Nancy's ear. "We're at war." The adults talked about nothing else for weeks, but at first it made little difference to Nancy's life. She still went to school, she was still best friends with Joyce, who lived next door, and she didn't have any brothers to worry about being called up. But then, around a year after that day at church, things took a dramatic change. That was when the bombing started. People had always said Orethorpe would be a prime target, with its 4 large factories, Granville's, Langley's, Thorpe and Price, and Gobley and Sons, all churning out vital contributions to the war effort. The first night it happened, Nancy was at home as usual. The sudden burst of the loud electronic wailing of the air raid siren made her jump. There had been a few false alarms, but she had still not got used to it and wondered if she ever would. Mother, who was sat just a few feet away, quickly wound up her knitting and placed it in a basket at her feet. "Come on then, quickly," she said, sounding impatient. Nancy's older sister Mary had already got up from the table and had walked through the kitchen where she had opened the door onto the backyard. She stood in the yard staring into the sky. Mother grabbed 3 gas masks from the sideboard. Nancy, Mary and Mother walked down the yard. As she glanced up, Nancy could see the criss-crossing of searchlights in the sky overhead. She dipped her head and saw the bulk of the air raid shelter in front of her. Father had covered the floor and part of the walls with old newspapers, but the air stank of mould and the earth felt hard, cold and wet when Nancy sat down. She wrapped her old woolen cardigan tightly around her and pulled her knees up to her chest. "Where is your father?" said Mother, sighing deeply. She pushed the makeshift door ajar so she could see him when he came. "Do you want me to go and fetch him?" said Nancy. No, of course not. It's not safe." "Oh, where is he?" said Mother. They waited, but there was no sign of Father. Overhead Nancy could hear a whirling sound she hadn't heard before. Mother grew more impatient with each passing minute. Eventually she hauled herself up, pushed the door open, and within a few seconds was striding down to the bottom of the yard towards Dad's shed. 10 minutes passed, and there was still no sign of their parents. Suddenly Mary roused herself. "If she can disappear, I can nip to the lav," she said, crawling towards the door. "Me too. I want to go," said Nancy. The outside toilet was only a few yards away. "I'll have to pee in the dark as usual," said Mary, going in first. "I can't lock the door, so just hold it for me." Not long later, Nancy heard the toilet flush. Mary opened the door from the inside. "Rushed it so bad I've got pee halfway down my leg," she said, giggling. Nancy went inside. The smell was as musty and cold as that inside the shelter, but at least it was a familiar place. Afterwards she pulled the door open, but as she did so she suddenly caught sight of what seemed to be a black rectangular box poking out at the far end of the toilet next to where Mother kept the pail and mop and other bits and pieces. It was a solid dark mass which was scarcely visible in all the clutter. "There's a bomb in here! There's a bomb!" she shrieked. "Oh, very funny," said Mary, holding the door open. "It's there! It's there!" shouted Nancy again, pointing to the almost hidden object. Mary peered around the door. At that moment Mother and Father appeared together, walking up the yard. "Girls, what are you doing?" "Get back in the shelter," said Mother. "There's a bomb," said Nancy. "Where?" Father dashed into the toilet and stood next to Nancy. On seeing the object, he immediately ran over and knelt down and bent his head to put his ear next to it. "Is it ticking?" asked Nancy. "No, it's not," said Father. "If a bomb had landed in our privy, it'd be bigger than this, and we'd have been blown to kingdom come," said Mother. Father remained
Sample complete. Ready to continue?